in said package we have, for the first time ever, we're going to be doing some bits on Roger, the plastic Fiesta. I always struggle to find the jacking points on these modern cars. Yeah, because I just basically don't know anything about any car except old school Escorts. Apparently even plastic cars, when they fall on your head, can cause damage. We could leave the air filter out, and then it'll sound like a racing car. The 4 smaller Torx screws. Cat's struggling because he's left-handed. I was unable to unscrew it by hand. Uh-oh. You can see all the damage on it here. Lovely jubbly. It has a cam belt. It's actually an oiled cam belt, which is really weird. Reset successful. So that means that Roger's satisfied with the job we've done. Burn out. No. Burn out. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes, and today I'm going to be working on a car that I've never actually worked on before. But before we get into that, I've got some bits to show you that have come through the post from Montgomery Motorsport. So I'll meet you around the garage right now. So in said package, we have the same clutch that I fitted to Esther earlier on in the year, but this one is obviously for Maude. This is a unsprung or rigid helix clutch for a Type 9 gearbox. It's basically a Pinto clutch. And yeah, this is way more heavy duty than the clutch that we obliterated at Herbie's very recently. And yeah, this should be up to all the abuse that the car's going to get in the future. It's definitely a bit aggressive, so it might be a bit of a nightmare in traffic. But yeah, at least I know that this will handle the abuse. Now, the guys at Montgomery Motorsport also very kindly chucked in a pair of these boot springs. And these are what loads of you said I should fit in place of these rubber type ones that I've got fitted to Maude. So that probably means I'm going to have to re-fiberglass these holes and re-drill them to fit these, but that's not a massive deal. So yeah, at some point in the near future I will transfer over to these. All that can wait for another day, because today, for the first time ever, we're going to be doing some bits on Roger, the plastic Fiesta. Right, so today, me and my beautiful girlfriend Kat are going to be giving Roger, the plastic Fiesta, his first service. Now, how many miles has this car done now?
Almost 18,000.
I don't know if it's just a modern car thing, but apparently the first service on this car should be done after 2 years or 18,000 miles, which seems a bit long to leave it to me. But if that's what the book says, then that's what Roger's going to get. Now, in this box down here, we've got the service parts. Actually got these from OP Oils, and we was able to get 10% off just for being viewers of Mk2 Mitch's channel. If you want to open the box and see what we got, that will be cabin filter or pollen filter. There's the oil. What have they sent us? Castrol Magnatech stop start. Oh, I suppose that's because you've got the stop start technology. 5W20. And then that will be the air filter. Good old Bosch oil filter. And usually you get a free OP Oils air freshener. Yeah. Don't think any of this is going to be too much of a mission. It's only an oil and filter change at the end of the day. I always struggle to find the jacking points on these modern cars. Yeah, because I just basically don't know anything about any car except old school Escorts. I don't even know if that's a jacking point, but we're going to go with it. I mean, let's face it, this car's going back to Ford once the finance is done. We're not keeping this one. Do you want to grab me an axle stand? Safety first and all that. Yeah, apparently even plastic cars, when they fall on your head, can cause damage. Before I could gain access to the sump plug, I needed to remove the under tray, which was held on with 6 Torx screws, which actually had a slot in for a screwdriver, and 2 clips. I then undone the sump plug with a 13mm spanner and let the oil drain out. I decided to lower the car back down just to make sure that all the oil came out, and then we cracked on with replacing the air filter. Once Kat had unclipped the airbox, we realised that there was an electrical wire which prevented us moving the top half of the box fully out of the way. But we were just about able to pull out the old air filter. As it turned out, the new air filter wasn't the correct one. We could leave the air filter out, and then it'll sound like a racing car. So we had to put the old air filter back in. Next, it was time to replace the cabin filter, which is located behind the centre console of the dashboard and accessed through the driver's side footwell. With the plastic cap prized off and the Torx screw removed, we learned, thanks to another YouTube video, Cyclone Sid, shout out to you, we had to pull the plastic trim towards the front of the car to unclip it. And then we were able to access the 4 smaller Torx screws that needed to be removed before we could actually pull out the old cabin filter. Cat's struggling because he's left-handed and this job's so much easier with your right hand. The top front screw was really tricky to remove, and I actually ended up damaging a rubber hose in the process. Have we got any CT1 here? Luckily, inside there, it feels like there's a hard pipe. So I think that's just a cover. Anyway, with those screws removed and the panel pulled off, we was able to slide out the old cabin filter. Hopefully this is the right one. Yeah. And slide in the new one. Lovely job. Then it was just a case of putting the panel back on, and I decided to only put 3 out of the 4 screws back in, then put the plastic trim back on, and then screw back in that Torx screw and pop the plastic cap back on. With Roger jacked back up, I then screwed back in the sump plug, and then it was time to set about removing the old oil filter. I was unable to unscrew it by hand. Oh, what? So I resorted to the desperate measures of using a hammer and chisel to create a slot in the filter, and then hammering against that slot with a screwdriver to unscrew the filter. See, it's coming now. Once it started moving, I was able to finish unscrewing it by hand. Oh, yes. You can see all the damage on it here. I just had to put a slot in it with the tool and then hit against that slot to unscrew it. Yeah, as far as I know, oil filters should only be put on, hand tight. Like tight, but, hand tight. And seeing as this is a factory oil filter, I really didn't expect it to be that tight. But because these cars only have service intervals at such high mileage, maybe that's why it was so tight on there, because this has been on the car for 18,000 miles. Whereas normally, you do an oil change after 10,000 miles at most. I smeared a little bit of oil on the seal of the new oil filter before screwing that on as tight as I could by hand. If it weren't for the pipes on the cooler there and the fact that, what's this, the alternator wasn't so close, it'd be a lot easier to get on it to undo it and do it up. I've got 2 different types of oil filter removal tools, but I didn't have them here. But I did have a big hammer here, so we got it done. After cleaning away any excess oil with brake cleaner, oh my God, they don't paint these engine blocks. Engine blocks rusty. Hardly any paint on the chassis here as well, man. I then refitted the under tray. Lovely jubbly. Got Roger back on the ground, and then all we had to do was top up the engine with the fresh oil. All right, so although this car does have an electronic oil level sensor, where you can basically access on the dashboard how much oil is in it and stuff, it does appear to have a dipstick as well, which is handy. Now, one thing that's really strange about these engines is it's a 3-cylinder, 1-litre turbo, quite responsive for a turbo engine. The turbo is down the back there. I'm guessing it's really small. But yeah, even though this car has a cam belt, it's actually an oiled cam belt. So yeah, the cam belt runs in the oil, which is really weird. Normally, you'd have a timing chain that goes in the oil, or you'd have a cam belt that's external and doesn't go in the oil. It's worth noting, one thing I learned on a different channel, Barham Engines, if you've got one of the Ford engines that are diesel that have the cam belt that runs in the oil, do change your oil way more frequently than the book tells you. The guy from Barham Engines has one of the new Transits with an engine like that, and he changes the oil every 6 months because they're diesel engines, which means they do like a regen every now and again, where basically all the stored soot and stuff then gets burnt off. And if you keep turning the engine off during that regen process, like if you're doing short trips, the fuel ends up in the oil, which then wears away the belt. So yeah, definitely something to think about, something that I've learned from someone else. But yeah, seeing as this is a petrol engine, I don't think that's an issue. But yeah, we're going to obviously chuck the oil in here. Not sure how many litres it takes, but as I say, we do have a dipstick to check it. Actually, that doesn't want to... Oh, yeah, so try and do it without a funnel. What could possibly go wrong? We are just below the maximum. We'll put the cap back on for a minute. And if you just run the engine literally for a few seconds. Right, so now it's gone back to the minimum again. And that is ever so slightly below the maximum. The floor is probably not dead level around here, so I'd rather leave it a tiny bit below than risk overfilling the engine with oil. But yeah, that is Roger's service done. Well done, Kat. The next time you'll be able to do it on your own.
It's going back to Ford next time.
Right, now Roger also sort of lets you know how much percentage you've got left in terms of the life of the oil. Now I'm pretty sure that that's just based on time and mileage. I'm pretty sure Roger can't actually tell how worn the oil is, but you have to like basically let the car know that you've just done an oil change essentially. Like you can see the screen here. Yeah, so you're scrolling through the menus on the screen. And then information, scroll down to oil life, and then it says oil life 5% because Roger still thinks that he needs an oil change. Then you just literally press reset oil life. Oil life reset successful, so that means that Roger's satisfied with the job we've done. And he's ready for another 18,000 miles. I suppose while we're around here pretending to be mechanics, we'll have a look at the coolant level, which looks okay. Could probably do a bit of screen wash. And yeah, brake fluid looks absolutely fine and looks really clear as well, as you'd expect from such a modern car. But yeah, Roger survived the first service by this idiot. Burnout.
No.
Burnout. Alright, so a couple of hours have passed and now me and Kat have jumped in Roger the plastic Fiesta to head to Kat's parents. No warning lights on the dash or anything, so definitely didn't forget to put the sump plug back in or... Now I was actually going to finish this video now, but I'm filming this on Christmas Eve, although by the time it comes out it would have been way beyond Christmas Eve. But yeah, because Kat comes from an Italian Catholic family, on Christmas Eve they like to feast on fish. So yeah, I thought I'd show you said feast before I end this video. In fact, funny story, some of you might have seen it on my Instagram story. This morning, me and Kat were making quite a big breakfast, you know, eggs, bacon, sausage and beans. And then halfway through making it, Kat remembered that she's not allowed to have meat on Christmas Eve, and she had to just have scrambled egg and beans on toast. And I got to have all the bacon that had already been started cooking and the sausages from the sausage and beans. So yeah, I had a feast and Kat had to put up with a minuscule breakfast. Usually every day I just have 4 poached eggs on toast, but on Saturdays we sort of have a bigger breakfast together. After an awesome evening at Kat's parents' place and a whole feast of tasty fish food, it's time for me and Kat to make our way home. Now, I'm not actually sure what I'm going to be doing next on the channel. I obviously do need to change Maude's clutch pretty soon, and I'm going to be fitting a new steering rack. Need to get both of those bits done before the 11th of January for her next drift day. We also do need to pick up the correct air filter for this car and switch those around, but that's a really simple job. Shout out to Montgomery Motorsport for sending me Maude's clutch so quickly. I will of course leave their links in the description for any of you guys that need to grab any bits. So other than that, I'm going to end this video here. If you did think it was any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe if you're new to keep up to date with all my future uploads, and check the links in the description to my social media, my own website, where you can check out my regular blog posts or get your hands on some official Marcus Hayes merchandise. I'll also leave a link to my Patreon in the description for any of you guys that want to jump on that. Massive thanks as always to all my patrons for your ongoing support, and for anyone who wants to contact me, I'll leave my email address in the description as well. But other than that, until next time, from me and my beautiful girlfriend Kat, thanks for watching.